The year 1971, mid-flight over the Atlantic Ocean. The sky was clear. Flight 914 had been in the air for about 2 hours, cruising smoothly at 30,000 feet. It was a routine flight, New York to Miami. The passengers were relaxed, reading newspapers, chatting, sipping on their drinks. The crew went about their work, smiling as if nothing could go wrong. In the cockpit, Captain Robert Turner and his co-pilot David Holloway were monitoring the controls. The radio crackled as they checked in with air traffic control. Flight 914, confirm your position. Everything seemed fine until it wasn't. Without warning, the sky outside shifted, the blue turning into a strange shade of gray, almost metallic. The instruments in the cockpit flickered, needles jumping back and forth. Then, turbulence. The plane shook violently, sending drinks flying and passengers gasping. The crew tried to calm everyone, but something wasn't right. Flight 914, you're off course. What's happening? Captain Turner, something's wrong. The sky looks... Static interference, impossible. Suddenly, the radio went completely silent. Flight 914 vanished from radar. No distress signal, no debris, no explanation. It was simply gone. 2008 Air Traffic Control Tower. It was a normal day at the airport. Planes were landing and taking off. Passengers moved through security, and the control tower staff monitored flights as usual. Then, an unknown signal appeared on the radar. Air traffic controller. What the? Do we have an unscheduled landing? A blip flickered on the radar screen. The controller checked the system. It was an old aviation frequency, one that hadn't been used in decades. The controllers froze. Flight 914, that plane vanished in 1971. It was impossible. What is your current location? Pilot, approaching Miami. Something's not right. We lost time. What's going on? The controllers exchanged glances. Miami? They were in Venezuela. Something was very, very wrong. The control tower scrambled to clear the runway, expecting an emergency. As the plane descended, workers on the tarmac gasped. Flight 914, a plane that had been missing for 37 years, was coming in for a perfect landing. The engines hummed smoothly, the exterior untouched, unstained, completely intact. It looked as if it had just taken off yesterday. Then the pilot's voice came through one last time, shaking with confusion. Pilot, what year is this? The plane came to a stop on the tarmac. Emergency crews, airport security, and aviation officials rushed toward it, expecting an emergency landing gone wrong. But what they found was far stranger. The aircraft looked perfect. No scratches, no rust, no signs of being in the air for 37 years. Airport security whispers, "It looks brand new." The cockpit door opened. The pilot stepped out first, a man in his 40s wearing an old-fashioned uniform with polished brass buttons. His face was pale and confused. He shielded his eyes from the bright sun, as if he hadn't seen daylight in a long time. Behind him, the passengers started stepping out. The airport staff stared. Their clothes were outdated, polyester suits, wide ties, floral dresses. It was like they had stepped out of a time machine. Pilot, shaky voice. "Where are we? This isn't Miami." Airport official. "Sir, what's the last date you remember?" The pilot hesitated, then said, "Pilot, July 2nd, 1971. The staff exchanged nervous looks. Airport official. "Sir, today is September 9th, 2008. The passengers gasped. Some screamed. A woman fainted. Airport official. Stunned whisper. "This plane has been missing for 37 years. Hours after the landing." The passengers and crew of Flight 914 were immediately quarantined. Doctors, scientists, and government officials rushed to the airport, demanding answers. But there were no answers. Everything about them was real. Their passports, IDs, and boarding passes were all authentic, but dated 1971. The clothes they wore, the cash in their wallets, even the snacks inside their carry-ons, all were from another time, untouched by age. One woman, Mrs. Eleanor Davis, demanded to call her husband. landing Mrs. Davis. He must be worried sick. We were supposed to land hours ago. When they checked the records, her husband had died in 1995. She broke down in tears, unable to believe she had been gone for 37 years. Meanwhile, the medical examiners ran tests on the passengers. What they found was impossible. Their blood pressure was lower than normal, their pulse rates unnaturally slow, as if their bodies weren't fully adjusted to this reality. Some passengers complained of strange dreams. I remember a place, but there was no sky, no ground, just white, endless white. One man woke up screaming, "Passenger," but before anyone could ask what he meant, he started coughing violently, then collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital, but by the time he got there, he was gone. Not dead, gone. Security footage showed him vanish into thin air while on the stretcher. The doctors stood there, frozen, unable to explain what they had just seen. Something had come back with them, but it wasn't going to let them stay. Days after the landing, authorities were desperate for answers. Scientists, military officials, and aviation experts worked around the clock, searching for clues to what happened to Flight 914. Then they recovered something critical, the plane's black box recorder. When they played it back, the room went silent. Black box audio, Captain Turner, calmly, static interference, co-pilot, confused. "What the hell is that?" Captain Turner, "The sky, it's changing color." "Do you see that? It's turning silver." "No, it's metallic." Flight attendant, scared, "Sir, passengers are panicking. Some say they see figures outside." Then, a horrible, screeching noise came through the speakers. It was not human. Co-pilot, whispering, terrified, "Where are we?" More static. The investigators sat frozen. One of them finally spoke, voice shaking. Who, or what, was outside that plane? The room was dead silent. Nobody had an answer. The passengers of Flight 914 were under strict surveillance. They weren't prisoners, but they weren't free either. Scientists studied them. Doctors monitored them. Yet they were slipping away. One by one, the survivors of Flight 914 were being pulled back. But by what? Pilot Turner, terrified, last words before disappearing. "They let us go, but only for a while." Within a week, every single passenger was gone, like they had never returned at all.